It's the middle of the season. I'm excited for this one. I woke up this morning, was thinking about some things that we can do, some conversations that we could have. I figured, we could talk wide receiver all day. Nobody really cares at this point. I mean, you gotta keep up with it, but you got to do other things too. Then I realized it's week 8. Let's going into week 9. We're at the midpoint. This is the middle of the season, and it's the bye week. And while the trade deadline is coming, you want to know what we should talk about? Who are the best players on the Pittsburgh Steelers? Who are the most improved players on the Pittsburgh Steelers? And who wins midseason awards in 2024? I got a list for you guys of the All Steelers Talk mid-season award. I actually, before we dive into this, because this is, again, jazzing up, should be jazzier, blah, 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 reached out. We're making some moves on these videos. We're making some moves on these intros. We're feeling good about it. I will say that the person communicating with me likes to text at like 2 a.m. I am not awake at 2 a.m. So the response time is slow. It's always about you get one, you send one, you wait till you're dead asleep, you get one back, then you wake up, you send another. But in about a week, maybe a month, who knows, we will have some videos, and I'd be very excited about it. Midseason awards. I drew up a list of the names that should be honored in Pittsburgh if the Pittsburgh Steelers did their own midseason and regular season and end of season awards every single year. And to be honest, there's one person on this list that might win this award in the NFL at the end of the season, because that's how damn good he is. And there's another one that just won an award. There's 2 on this list that just won an award. No, there's only 1 on this list that just won an award. Shout out to Chris Boswell for winning Special Teams Player of the Month. He is an absolute freak. Did he win, or was it? Yeah, it was him.
He won.
It was him. The TJ won Defensive Player of the Week. Boswell won Special Teams Player of the Month. There's one that just won an award for Rookie of the Month. We'll dive into that, though, in a minute. The awards will start up the top here. MVP of the Pittsburgh Steelers, because this is the easy one. This is, unless we go backwards. Should we go backwards? Let's go backwards.
Probably leave MVP for last. Always leave it for last.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. Leave the best for last. We're starting with Coach of the Year. I think this is the best, if we're going to be honest. But we're starting Coach of the Year, and there is no question. You could go Arthur Smith, and you could talk Arthur Smith. He was a close second. We'll say he was a close second. But the inconsistencies were here and there at the beginning of the season. I get it. You went 4-2 with Justin Fields. All credit to you. You got a running back that has 300-yard games back to back to back. You've turned Russell Wilson into old Cook and Russ. You're getting the most out of George Pickens. Darnell Washington is making noise for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everything and anything is going right for these guys, and Arthur Smith deserves all the credit. But you want to know who the midseason Coach of the Year is in Pittsburgh right now? It's the man with 75 pieces of gum in his mouth every single weekend. The one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the Yinzer himself, Danny Smith. I mean, you look at this and say, this is a guy who just had a punt return, and that was not even the flashiest part of what his unit has done in the last 2 games, let alone the last 8 weeks, 9 weeks. Danny Smith has coached a unit that is absolutely unbreakable right now. And if you toss Minkah Fitzpatrick's should have been a blocked field goal in there, it just gets even better. This dude's doing, he's the best, man. He's the best. I remember the days when people said, fire Danny Smith. I remember at the beginning of the season, people were saying, fire Danny Smith. Well, you're wrong. And you've always been wrong. Danny Smith is an absolute legend. He's been doing this forever. He'll do it till he dies. And, there is no other option. I'd name him Coach of the Year in the NFL right now, let alone Coach of the Year in Pittsburgh. But he is the midseason Coach of the Year for the Steelers. We're going comeback player of the year next. And there were options here. There were options. You could have looked at any of the new guys, any of the quarterbacks, and said, yeah, well, Russ is making moves. And Russ stunk last year. He got benched. That's how he finished his season, on the bench. Now he's come back here. He's got the Pittsburgh Steelers believing they're a contender. You could look at Calvin Austin, coming a long way since that Liz Frank sprain that happened the night before the preseason opener, his rookie season. He has come a long way. You could look at, I don't even know, names like Cam Hayward and Minkah Fitzpatrick coming off of injuries, doing their thing. Alex Highsmith having an unbelievable season. But you want to know who the comeback player of the year is, and I'm proud to say this one because there are a few people in Pittsburgh who deserve to succeed as much as this guy because of how good of a person he is. That is Dan Moore Jr. Dan Moore Jr. is the comeback player of the year so far this season. It's not even close. It's not. Dan Moore is a stud, my friend. He's got the left side of that offensive line clicking. Najee Harris, that cutback counter the other day where he took it 20 whatever yards, that was a thing of beauty. That does not happen without a left tackle. Dan Moore has gone from 4th-round pick that should not have played to 4th-round pick that sucked to 4th-round pick that why are we even here? Get him out of the starting lineup to he might sign another deal and Broderick Jones might be gone because right now it looks like Dan Moore is the left tackle of the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know that is a bold statement, but that is where we are through 8 weeks. If the season ended today, you do not let Dan Moore go and have the same aspirations of a Super Bowl in 2025 as the Pittsburgh Steelers would like to have. Dan Moore is, without question, comeback player of the year midway through this season. Rookie of the year here. There were two names. It wasn't Zach Frazier. I know Zach Frazier deserves some credit, but he's been dealing with an injury. Because of that, I've been going with the most recent. My first list said Mason McCormick. And that's because Mason McCormick is so slept on. This offensive line is so slept on. And he's a 4th-round pick playing like a proven veteran against just powerhouse after powerhouse. Nobody even remembered that Jonah Williams. Did I say his name? No. Who's the dude in
Quinnen Williams?
Quinnen Williams. Thank you. Jonah Williams is the tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Quinnen Williams even played for the New York Jets. Shout out to Mason McCormick. But the rookie of the year, and he has put this thing away over the last 2 weeks, and he just won rookie of the month for the AFC, is Beanie Bishop. 3 interceptions in 2 weeks. Put it away. Put a stamp on I am the future. Beanie's got some hiccups. He's got some ways to come in development, but man, that baseline is so much higher than an undrafted rookie. So much higher than an undrafted rookie. Beanie Bishop's got a bright future in the NFL. I hope it's in Pittsburgh because he just feels like a Pittsburgh Steeler and he looks like a Pittsburgh Steeler when he's out there and he gives effort like a Pittsburgh Steeler. And you got to love it. Beanie Bishop is rookie of the year, defensive player, offensive player, and MVP. That's what we got next. You got something to say?
Yeah, just when you talk about the rookie of the year category right now for the Steelers, it is such a stacked group because, we didn't even mention, you obviously said Zach Frazier, but we didn't even mention Peyton Wilson.
Peyton Wilson's on
who
that.
Has stepped in and immediately been a very integral part of this defense. He's played very well. And even in the first week of the season, he had close to 50% of the snaps. I mean, talk about hitting the ground running for a linebacker for Peyton Wilson. I think he's been very good. Obviously, Zach Frazier has been good when healthy. And, the first-round pick being Troy Fautanu, he looked good in his one game. We'll see what happens next year whenever he comes back. But, he left a lot for us to be excited about. So this is a really good rookie class. This is a really tough, decision to make here. But I like that you're kind of going with the guy that's jumped out ahead of everybody the last 2 weeks.
I agree. And you can't, I'm glad that you brought up Peyton Wilson. You can't go without mentioning Peyton Wilson, definitely another honorable mention. This class is unbelievable. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. See all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. And for any that you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them with just a few taps. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all accounts, easily creates a personalized budget with custom categories to help keep your spending on track, and sees your monthly spending trends in each category to know exactly where your money is going. Get alerts if your bills increase in price, there's unusual spending activity, or if you're close to going over your budget. And the new goals feature automatically saves money for you without you even having to think about it. Whether your goal is to pay off your credit card debt, put away money for a house, or just build your savings, Rocket Money makes it easy. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you, sometimes up to 20%. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save. Then you can ask them to negotiate for you. They'll deal with customer service. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. They could save members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/allsteelers. That's rocketmoney.com/allsteelers. rocketmoney.com/allsteelers. Defensive player of the year. I mean, this was another easy one. That defense is stacked. You got names like Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, Joey Porter Jr., Minka Fitzpatrick, Dante Jackson. I mean, Patrick Queen is out there, Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton. The names go on and on and on and on and on. But it's Deshaun Elliott. It's been Deshaun Elliott since week 1 of the regular season. Since the second that he stepped on the field for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Deshaun Elliott has been the guy. I said it a billion times this season. I will say it 100 more. I do not know how the Pittsburgh Steelers have not had Deshaun Elliott on their roster for years, because he just fits flawlessly in this defense. He's an absolute menace. I mean, Deshaun Elliott is a guy that he's young enough. He's 26 years old that if he plays another 6-7 seasons in Pittsburgh, he's going down in Pittsburgh history. I'll make that claim right now. You want to talk bold claims? He's going down in Pittsburgh history, because that's how good he is. If he continues, if he stays healthy, if you give him 6 years, easy. No questions asked. He's going, him and Minka could go down as one of the craziest duos the Steelers have had, next to Troy and Ryan, obviously, next to Donnie Shell, and next to Mel Blount was a corner, but next to all the greats in the Rod Woodsons in Pittsburgh. There are many, okay? Minka and Deshaun, they got it right there. And nobody would have said this about Troy and Ryan the day that they showed up either. Okay. 9 weeks in, it would have been a bold claim as well, because I see you looking at me like that. Mm-hmm. I see you giving me the looks. Nobody would have said it 9 weeks in. I just think Deshaun's got the it factor that is here. He's got to stay healthy. But if he stays healthy, well, like, why not? Why not him, Joey, Minka? Mm-hmm. Dante's 30, but you'll figure that out. You'll get somebody else. I like that. The offensive side. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, the parallels are very, very deep between Deshaun Elliott and Ryan Clark. And it goes far beyond the fact that they both wear 25, that they both play similar positions, that they both started their careers elsewhere and weren't really a big name, and then kind of took over when they came to Pittsburgh. And as much as I'd like to say, hey, one day it's going to be exactly, carbon copy, like, we'll look at it and be like, man, it was Troy and Ryan. And then about a decade and a half later, we got Deshaun and Minka. It feels, as of right now, I'm not ready to go that far yet. It feels as of right now like it's a Joe Hayden situation where it's like, loved him, was great when he was with the Steelers, but at the end of the day, he's going to be far down the list when you're just naming random secondary members.
Joe Hayden was 31.
He was a lot older. Yes.
He's 30 years old.
He was a lot more of a made man when he came to Pittsburgh than Deshaun
Look
was.
at Deshaun's 26. He's got a lot of football ahead of him. A lot of football. How many years did Ryan Clark play here? 7 years, I think. I think it was 7 years. You give him 7 years, 33, finishes his career off strong. I'm just saying, it's a possibility. It's a possibility.
Ryan Clark played 8 years in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
8 years in Pittsburgh. You got to give him time. Plus 25 and an ugly number, 30, 39, and 43. That's, Mink will tell you straight to his face. It's ugly numbers. Got to love them. There you go. Yeah. Offensive player of the year. This one could have went to Russ. This one could have went to George, but this is easy. And that is Najee Harris. And it's easy, Najee Harris. I mean, 3 back-to-back 100-yard games. He is the face of this offense right now. Russ is cooking. Najee is carrying the team. He's got the whole damn kitchen on his back, and he's bringing them as far as they want to go. I mean, this is Najee's best season. Easy. It's been his best performance. Easy the last 3 weeks. He looks like a made man. He looks like a dude who wants a contract, knows it's not going to come to Pittsburgh, but he wants to show the rest of the NFL, hey, I'm pretty damn good if you give me a good offensive coordinator, a decent quarterback, and some offensive linemen to run in front of, because I haven't had any of those my entire career. So, first round talent, still got it. Thanks. Maybe we should do something about it. Hit the mic. I apologize. Najee Harris is a dude who, I mean, come on, let's be realistic here. There is nobody on this offense that is more impactful to this group than Najee Harris right now. You could say Russ. They were 4-2 without Russ. Okay. Najee Harris has been the backbone, and people will say, well, it's because of Russ. Yeah. Who started in Vegas? Oh, it was Justin Fields when Najee Harris had 100 yards against the Raiders. This is all Najee. I mean, that dude is a stud. He's getting the bag somewhere. It's not going to be in Pittsburgh. I wrote that this morning. That just putting it to bed here. It's a very slim chance. Kaboli gave it a 7% chance that he comes back. I think I'm giving it less than that. I think that was a good number, but I think I'd give it less than that. We'll finish it off with MVP here because I know we got other stuff to talk about. This one's, I mean, is there even another candidate for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is there anybody else even out there that you could potentially put on this list? No. And he's been the same name for 5 years now. And I think he won it every year except for the year he tore his pec. And he made a Pro Bowl that year just because the NFL said, yeah, it's still TJ Watt. Don't forget about it. It's still TJ Watt. It's TJ Watt. He's the Pittsburgh Steelers MVP. He's been the Pittsburgh Steelers MVP. You could type the TJ Watt named Pittsburgh Steelers MVP story up at the beginning of the season, and chances are all you got to do is plug in some stats and hit post the second that the team votes him team MVP at the end of the year. No questions asked. TJ Watt is a menace. He is the most dangerous man in Pittsburgh, and TJ Watt is your Pittsburgh Steelers MVP through the midway point of the season. That's the list for those of you watching on YouTube. TJ Watt, Beanie Bishop, Dan Moore Jr. Love to see that face up there. Najee Harris, Deshaun Elliott, and then look at the man with the smile himself, Danny Smith. That is your midseason awards. We'll come back to these at the end of the year, see how we're looking, see how we hang in there, see how things change, because I'm sure that they always do. Our power rankings have taken some serious jumps over the last couple of weeks, and I would imagine our awards take some serious jumps by the end of the season. Beanie's got to hang in there, but Cam Sutton's coming back. Do you win it at the end there? I don't know. Mason McCormick, Zach Frazier will be back after the bye week, and Peyton Wilson's still going. And I just don't think we've even started to see what guys like George Pickens can do this year. So it's interesting. It'll be a good group. You got thoughts before we get into what's more likely here?
No, it's hard to disagree with a lot of those. I mean, Russell Wilson could have put his name in the hat there if he'd played more than 2 games this season. And I also think if it wasn't, I would say Justin's performance being as good as it was also helps you say, all right, well, it hasn't made as much of an impact. Russ obviously has elevated the offense. We've talked about it, but not as much as TJ Watt always elevates just the defense and the team in its entirety. So I don't disagree with that one. And obviously, I mean, if you're going to go MVP is your best edge rusher, because that's kind of the defensive equivalent of the quarterback on the defensive side when it comes to how much everybody likes to talk about it, then yeah, the best player outside of TJ Watt on that defense has been Deshaun Elliott from, pillar to post, whistle to whistle, beginning of the season to now. So I like it. I love the picks. And I loved looking up Danny Smith's headshot because it was exactly what I expected it to be.
Yes. As it should be. Danny Smith's looked exactly the same. Every time I interview him, I go, dude, most people look different as they get older. You look exactly the same maybe younger. He might look younger as the year goes on. So shout out to Danny Smith. Shout out to all our midseason award winners. I'm sure they care a lot about what we have to say midway through the season.